Good evening, everybody. I'm Gene Bailey. You're watching Flashpoint. Tonight's a very special night. Yes, it's Flashpoint, our regular program, but immediately following this program, we will take a quick dip to black and then right back up for cover President Trump's special session, his address to Congress. You do not want to miss it. We're going to carry the whole thing live right here, and then we will have commentary. With us will be David Barton, Michelle Bachmann, of course, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and Pastor George and Terry Pearsons. We will all be able to chime in and say what we saw. It has potential to be a very interesting evening, so keep it right here. Make sure you go share this on all of your social media accounts. Let everybody know what's happening over here on Flashpoint and the Victory Channel tonight. Now, before I get any further, I want to talk about what's coming up in Colorado, April 30th through May 1st. Flashpoint at Charis Bible College, right there in Woodland Park, Colorado. Now, last year we went when it was in February and lots of snow. We decided we would go, almost to May. So it's a Wednesday and a Thursday night. We would love to see you there. Lance Wallnow, Hank Kuhneman, Rick Green, Pastor Lorenzo Sewell, and Lou Engle will be there. And all you need to do is go register. Just let us know you're coming. It helps us understand how many people are coming. FlashpointArmy.com/register, and it's a free event. We just want to know you're coming. Tell a friend. Ride together. We've seen that. We've got people that get a carload and come together. I think that's great. Reminds me of the old days when, Catherine Kuhlman they would do bus loads and take buses. I know. Look her up if you're too young to remember that. All right, let's get into tonight's program. With me, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West and Mark Meckler. Good evening, gentlemen. So good to see you. I think we're going to have David Barton join us a little bit later. Should look for an interesting evening. Mark Meckler, go to you first. You think we're going to see any shenanigans tonight?
If we're going to see shenanigans, we've heard of all kinds of stuff they're going to be pulling. They're going to have noisemakers and clappers and all kinds of stuff. And I've actually heard also that President Trump is happy about this. He said if they want to go and make fools of themselves in front of a national television audience, they should be allowed to do so. I think he's going to let them run on. And I think the American people need to see the lack of seriousness from the Democrat Party. That way they treat them with the appropriate respect or lack thereof. So I think we're going to see a lot. I think it's going to be entertaining, and I think it's good for the Republic to see the truth.
It is good for the Republic to see the truth. Colonel Alan West, your thoughts on that?
No, I have to agree wholeheartedly with Mark. It's great to be with you, Gene. And, you talk about the seriousness of where we are in this country. He's talking about restoring and reviving that American dream. And you're going to see people that are really standing against that American dream being revived. I don't understand what agenda items the left thinks that the American people want to see. That we don't want these open borders anymore. The fact that you just had Senate Democrats that killed a bill that would have protected women in sports, how do they think that that's going to play out in front of the American people? So you look at what is going on right now. We're right-sizing the federal government. We're restoring constitutional governance. The American people are learning about the waste, fraud, and abuse of their taxpayer resources. They're learning about all of this money going to other places and to other countries. When we still have people in North Carolina, Western North Carolina, you've been there, Gene, that don't have homes. That's right. So I think this is going to be an important contrast. And again, this is just the first 43 days of his second administration.
Isn't that amazing? It's just amazing to me. So much has happened in 6 weeks. It's just staggering. All right, I want to start off because we showed you again last night the clip with Zelensky and President Trump, which made for great television. But listen, what you might find interesting is this report from CNN about the support for Ukraine. Remember when everybody was waving Ukraine flags? Is it still that way? Watch.
Holy Toledo. Look at this trend line here. U.S. support for Ukraine is too much. Back when the war began, back in February of 2022, it was just 7%. Up like a rocket ship. My goodness. Up now in February of 2025 to 41%. And the clear majority of Republicans, and of course Republicans are in charge of the U.S. government now, 62% of Republicans say that the U.S. support for Ukraine is too much. What a difference from just 3 years ago. I can remember, John, all those backyards in the United States with those Ukrainian flags. Far fewer of them today, as Americans' opinions on Ukraine have changed dramatically.
What about opinions of the Ukrainian president?
Right. obviously, if you would expect changes amongst the public on feelings towards Ukraine, feelings towards Zelensky have changed also dramatically. Look at this. Confident Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. Back in 2022, it was the clear majority, 72% through the floor. Through the floor by 2024, just 48% of Americans say that they're confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. And GOP confidence has also plummeted dramatically. Now the clear majority of Republicans are not confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. Really a real trend line, ones you rarely see in the American public when it comes to Ukraine and Zelensky. Confidence in both going down through the ground.
Look, some allies of President Trump have targeted Zelensky with harsh criticism over the last few years, and it could be that that's having some impact here.
Absolutely. The Republican establishment, the Republican electorate has moved as the Republican establishment and Republican leaders have moved on.
All right, Mark, what do you think of that? I mean, that guy's so demonstrative. Through the floor. What do you think?
Look, I think there has been a radical shift, and Americans are happy to jump up and support a good cause. We don't like the fact that Russia and Putin invaded Ukraine. There's a lot of history there. I think it's more nuanced than most people give it credit for. But we also want to know where our money's going and what is the end game. And one of the problems we've had over the last several years throughout the Biden administration is no end game. And Biden said he would support them to whatever it took. Well, that's not a strategy. War has to end. There has to be an end game. And Americans' end game is they're tired of spending money into a deep pit with no bottom.
Well, listen, I want to show you this Frank Luntz poll here. He posted this. The United States isn't changing. It has changed. 3 years ago, Americans were overwhelmingly supportive of Ukraine, and they considered Zelensky to be a global hero. That's what we just saw. Today, a majority of Americans oppose the war, and Zelensky is now a controversial character. President Trump is on his way to being the most impactful, consequential president since FDR, and his supporters are more loyal to him than any president since Andrew Jackson. To be clear, I'm not making a judgment on either Ukraine, Zelensky, or Trump. I'm merely noting what the polls are saying. And based on these results, this Tuesday night's State of the Union address should have a very big audience. Let me show you this. This is poll 1 of 2 about Ukraine. After yesterday's White House meeting, who are you more angry at? This is, Donald Trump, 9.2. Zelensky, 90.8%. Staggering. Poll 2, at this point in the Russia-Ukraine war, whom are you more sympathetic towards? Now, this was the one that was shocking to me. 52% more towards Vladimir Putin versus 47.9% for Zelensky. This is a staggering number, Colonel West. When you see this, this is quite a shift. I think Americans they're awake.
Yeah, they are, and I think that what those numbers reflect, and Frank Luntz is a dear close friend of mine, a very good pollster. He reads people very well. People are let down by Vladimir Zelensky. Think about it. Here's a guy that has instituted martial law. He has suspended elections. As Mark alluded to, where's the return on investment of the hundreds of billions of dollars that we sent over there? It should not be going towards his pocket. It should not be going toward their small businesses. It was supposed to be going to the restoration of their national sovereignty. That's not the case. And so now when he comes over and disrespects the president, the vice president, the American people, basically saying, I'm here for my check, he doesn't understand that a mineral rights agreement is a security agreement. That's an economic investment, which means that puts Vladimir Putin on his heels. So I think that right now you're seeing the American people say, yeah, we want to focus on our country. Look, we've got a border problem here where we have tens of millions of illegals here. We have criminal illegal immigrants. We have gangs. We have terrorists in this country. We need to focus at home on our border right now.
I believe you're absolutely right. We and Americans are overwhelmingly saying that, and that's why they voted the way they did in that election. All right, so what is Zelensky saying now that he's had time to come down and think about what he said? What does he really think? Watch this clip from Fox.
Okay, we have some news with regard to Zelensky and Ukraine crossing right now on X. Zelensky saying a lot of things. Here are a few headlines. Says Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible. Says about the clash in the Oval Office, it is regrettable that it happened that way. He says it's time to make things right. So that is the word out of Kyiv. We do believe he is back in that country as we speak.
All right, so let me bring in David Barton. David, what I'm not hearing from Zelensky was, I was wrong, I'm sorry, and I apologize. Do you think this is enough for President Trump, or has he still got to go a little bit further?
Well, I'm not sure he's going to admit he's wrong, but he knows that he made a serious mistake. I mean, after he left, Trump said, all right, that's it. We're not giving you any more help. We're suspending all aid that was coming to you. And I think when he got to Europe, he got an earful from them and said, what were you thinking? What were you doing? We're trying to help you. And so you see Europe stepping in to try to help him get out of the mud that he stepped into. So I'm not sure how bad he feels over it. I think he's convinced he made a mistake tactically in what he was doing. And part of that can go back to the people he was talking to on the Democrat side before he got here, who were giving him counsel on how to address President Trump. Didn't work out too well for him.
All right, let me show you. This is ABC News. Marco Rubio, what he had to say about the whole thing. Watch.
Do you know what the United Nations resolution was? I'll tell you if you want to hear what it was. It basically said this has been a horrible war. It's time for it to end. The job of the UN is to bring about peace in the world. I thought that's what the UN was created to do, to stop wars and to prevent them. And that's what the resolution did. Was it antagonistic towards the Russians? No. Back to the point. But it also didn't praise the Russians. All it said is this is a bad war. It needs to end. And by the way, at the Security Council, which has not been widely reported, the first resolution on Ukraine that has passed the Security Council in 3 years passed this week because of the leadership of President Trump. And it's a resolution that says bad war needs to end. Let's bring the two sides together.
Okay, Mark Meckler, your thoughts. You heard what he had to say. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to say is Marco Rubio is performing above expectations, and I had high expectations for him, but I think he is doing a phenomenal job as Secretary of State. I'm really excited about that, and I think he's absolutely right. The UN is on the right side of this. I rarely say that about the UN. This is the correct resolution. The point is not to antagonize either Zelensky or Putin. The point is to bring them to the table and end the bloodshed.
Let me show you another poll. What do the Europeans think? Now, we talked a little bit about this last night, about how they're saying, oh, yeah, we're for you guys as long as, as long as America is. You know, as long as whatever the United States is, that's where we are. Look at this. Most Europeans feel Ukraine is not getting enough Western support. Look at this. The not enough is in the red. 22%, is Denmark. All these countries that have such massive militaries. Just kidding. No, they don't. But look at the next poll. Look at the next one. These, however, only a minority think their country should increase support. The same one. So we believe the West should do more, David Barton. The West should do more, but we shouldn't do it. You guys go do it. You guys go do it. This has been a trend for so long. We're going to have to break the cycle of America bailing out every time.
Yeah, and that's something that Trump did his first term. When he came in, he said, hey, NATO, you're going to ante up. You're going to start putting that GDP that you're supposed to into military stuff. Your countries are going to pay. And he made them start picking up part of what was there. We've already seen that with what he's doing in the Middle East. He's telling the other Arab nations they have to get involved. They have to step in. They have to get control of Hamas and Gaza. And you guys need to do it. It's not America that's going to be doing this. So this is something he did even in his first term that we see again now, is America is not going to be the big paycheck for everybody. You're going to have to contribute your own good, your own defense, your own whatever policies you want. And that's going to be hard for socialists to get over. And that's a lot of socialist countries you just put on that poll. And that's a hard thing for them to have to stomach.
All right, let me show you. Let me show you this from Mario Naufal, Mario Naufal post about Keir Starmer's. They're ready to deploy troops for Ukraine over there in the UK. Listen to what he had to say.
First, we will keep the military aid flowing and keep increasing the economic pressure on Russia to strengthen Ukraine now. Second, we agreed that any lasting peace must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security, and Ukraine must be at the table. Third, in the event of a peace deal, we will keep boosting Ukraine's own defensive capabilities to deter any future invasion. Fourth, we will go further to develop a coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to guarantee the peace. Not every nation will feel able to contribute, but that can't mean that we sit back. Instead, those willing will intensify planning now with real urgency. The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air, together with others. Europe must do the heavy lifting. But to support peace in our continent and to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing. We're working with the US on this point after my meeting with President Trump last week. And let me be clear, we agree with the President on the urgent need for a durable peace. Now we need to deliver together. Finally, we agreed that leaders will meet again very soon to keep the pace behind these actions and to keep working towards this shared plan. We are at a crossroads in history today. This is not a moment for more talk. It's time to act, time to step up and lead, and to unite around a new plan for a just and enduring peace. Thank you.
Okay, Mark, a nice speech there, but it still comes back to the same thing. We've got to do this, we got to help them, we got to send, but America, you've got to do it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I mean, first I want to say excellent rhetoric. I think it was a great speech. I think he hit all the right notes.
Sure.
He said two things that really interest me. First, he said a coalition of the willing. And I question how willing are the countries of Europe? You saw that polling that you put up earlier saying they think there should be more support. Their populations want more support for Ukraine. They just don't want to do it. So I think they're going to run into political headwinds when they talk about pouring a whole bunch more money into Ukraine, and especially when they talk about boots on the ground. Again, I agree with them. This is Europe's problem. Europe needs to step up and lead. And what I think they're going to find is that President Trump is not willing to step up and in unless he actually sees the money in the bank accounts supporting this effort from Europe.
Yeah, and I love it that you brought that up because I got the right clip. This is the man on the street camera asking UK people on the street, would you go? Would you go to war to help? Watch what they had to say.
You guys live in the UK?
Yeah, we do.
Would you join the military?
No, we're not from this country.
If they say it's compulsory, what would you do?
I'll just go back to my country. No, I'll just go back to my country.
First of all, I'm not a UK citizen, I'm an immigrant.
I'm Welsh?
No, unfortunately not. I'm not from this country originally.
Where are you from?
Brazil.
Do you live here?
Yes.
Would you go to war for this country?
No.
I'm Pakistani, so...
Are you a resident?
I'm a resident. I've got dual nationality.
Okay, you saw that David Barton, I mean, it is a nation of immigrants more than ever before in the UK. Seems like they got a little bit of an issue there.
Gene, I thought we were talking about Ukraine, and now I find we're talking about open immigration policy, which, by the way, this is why open immigration policy is not good for a nation.
Never works.
Because they won't stand and fight for principles. And this goes back to America, the problem we had with open borders, open immigration. People come in when they can get something. When it costs them something, they're going to leave. And that's why there's a real lack of the rise of patriotism. Now, I know we're over on Ukraine, but that commentary is more about what's going on in Europe with all the open borders in the EU. And interestingly enough, some of the younger Christian nations like Poland, Romania, and Hungary, they're saying, we don't care what the EU says. Here's what we're doing with our borders. And I was in Poland with their leaders, their national leaders, talking about Ukraine, and they're talking about we have lost control of our borders. If we could have better control of our borders, we're telling the EU are not going to do it. And that's what they think they can do to help Ukraine, which is an interesting take on that. But I know I left the Ukraine issue, but that was more of a commentary on why you've got to have people who want to come to your country, who love and support and are willing to defend it. And in this case, Europe as well, but you just do not have that commitment to a nation, to a country. And that's why they're going to look for people like the United States to step in and do it, because they don't have the people there willing to do it.
No, they're absolutely not willing to do it. All right, Stephen A. Smith, let's talk about President Trump for a minute. He was on The View with Joy Behar, and let's watch this clip. This is fun. I love it. He actually comes out and makes some sense. Watch.
It's only been in office for 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years, doesn't it? And he's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. We can sit up there and play around all we want to. In 2020, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the electoral college vote. A matter of fact, the Republicans hadn't won the popular vote, if I remember correctly, since 2004. But they did this year. So 20 years after they last won the popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
Well, it's a different definition of a mandate, I guess.
But the problem is that if you're the Democratic Party and you lost 49.8% to 48.3%, and you're looking at that 1.5% dip, that's an excuse for you to say, what we did really wasn't that bad. We should continue to do that. No, don't continue to do it. Find a new strategy.
Okay, Mark, it's a mandate. I think it's a mandate.
Yeah, it's a clear mandate. When the government gets handed to one party, when you win the popular vote, when you win the House and the Senate, when you win every swing state, Stephen Smith is speaking just the truth. That's what he said. He doesn't love Trump. He's just talking the truth. This is a mandate. And by the way, he still has a mandate. His poll numbers have increased. The American people like what he's doing. The main reason they like what he's doing is all he's doing is common sense. Like, normal people want to see the government stop wasting money. They want to see the fraud stop. They don't want dead people getting Social Security. They don't want us sending all of our money overseas. They don't want men and women's sports. These are not complicated issues. These are 80-20 issues where the Democrat Party is on the wrong side of all of those issues.
Yeah, let me go to you, David Barton. I want to get your take on that. You heard that, the mandate question. Seems pretty obvious to us.
I tell you, I think Stephen Smith hit exactly right in the opening statement. He said this is about truth, and it is about truth. And bless his heart, I can appreciate people who are willing to look at truth and acknowledge it. He clearly is not a conservative. He's not an evangelical Republican. Fine. He gave a recitation of truth that set the others back. And I think that's where any kind of civility has to start. You have to have some common ground. And I love the fact that that's a conversation those guys definitely needed to hear. And so truth is a big part of what has to happen with that. But in the same way, when you see the polling, I mean, right now, more than half of Democrats approve of what President Trump is doing. You're having about 85% of Republicans approve, about half of Democrats. That's a mandate all by itself. When you can get those kind of numbers this early in a presidency, when he is doing as much stuff as he's doing, as fast as he's doing. I was hearing some pollsters talk this week about how, well, we think he's moving too fast. It's making people uncomfortable. No, it's not. It's actually causing people to think, hey, this is what we thought change looked like. We just haven't seen it in decades. This is really good. But I think Stephen Smith hit it. The word is truth, and you've got to be able to report the truth, look at the truth, accept the truth, and change your behavior to align with the truth.
Amen. Amen. All right, let me show you this tweet from Charlie Kirk, and then we'll go to break a little early. Trump approval rating by age. Now, this was surprising to me. 65 and over, 45%. 40 to 64, 46%. But look at that bottom number. 18 to 39, 60%. The next generation wants a country and a future. Their parents don't seem as concerned. The kids are all right. That was shocking to me. I'll go to you first, Mark. I know David's got a comment, but the 18 to 39, that's massive.
Yeah, that is an incredible number, and it is a sea change in the United States of America. And it is incredible to me that an elderly gentleman like Donald Trump has conducted this sea change. But I also want you to look at his administration and the age of his administration. He has chosen a very young administration. Look at J.D. Vance, you look at Brooke Rollins, you look at his press spokesperson. All of these people are very young, and across the board, I would say you're looking at people in their mid to late 40s, maybe early 50s. he is setting up the next generation of conservative leadership in America, and I am really excited about the future. Young people are really responding.
Yeah. All right, David, I want to real quick get your comment before we go to the break.
Yeah, I think this is one of the healthy things I've seen in a long time. A while back, George Barton and I did a book called U-Turn. And one of the things we saw in the book U-Turn was polling in that younger generation. They're the first generation in polling history, more than 100 years, in which they really did not care about the age of the people around them. They were more looking for relationships and results. And I think that's what you see at that polling. They're looking and they're saying, hey, this guy, he may be, 75 years old, but look at what he's doing. Look at the results he's getting. And there's a trust factor there that we have not seen in the younger generation in a long time. This is one of the healthiest stats that I've seen in a good while. And we've seen this trend growing for the last 3 to 4 months.
Much to celebrate, much to pray about. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Glenn Beck after the break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Nate Schatzline. I'm a state representative in Texas, but I'm also a pastor at a church in Fort Worth called Mercy Culture. And hey, listen, the time is now for the church to rise up. We have 90 million voting age Christians in the United States of America right now. We have 40 million of them that did not vote and 15 million of them that aren't even registered to vote. Listen, the battle for our nation is not political. It is spiritual. Let's go take back our country.
People will always tell you you can't do it. Do these 3 things, you'll always be successful. Number 1, find out the will of God. Number 2, confer no longer with flesh and blood. Number 3, get your job done at all costs. Finding out the will of God, that's when you get the vision.
Join us for the Branson Victory Campaign with Kenneth Copeland, Keith Butler, and Reba Rambo. April 3rd through the 5th. Register at kcm.org/Branson today.
Flashpoint, the point at which something or someone bursts suddenly into action. Some things happen by chance, and some things happen because we make them happen. Are you ready to make a wave across this nation? Will you step up to ignite the change America needs? Will you become a combustion agent in the Flashpoint Army? Together, we can cause a combustive reaction across America, igniting the hearts and minds of patriots who've had enough. The line has been drawn. It's time to pick sides. Victory is at hand. Don't miss an event. Don't miss a single program. We're taking back America. Stay informed, stay in faith, and stay ready, because it's time for the next level of Flashpoint. Welcome back to the second half. I just want a programming reminder tonight, live here, Tuesday night, after Flashpoint goes off, stay right here with us. We will be covering the presidential address to the nation and to the joint session of Congress. You will see the entire thing here, as well as commentary immediately afterwards. We had our friend Colonel West, but he had a power hit, so we lost him. Hopefully he'll be back by then to join us, as well as David Barton, Michelle Bachmann, and Pastor George and Terry Pearsons to give us their thoughts on what they just heard from President Trump. All right. Last week I sat down with Glenn Beck, and for a few minutes ended up being 25. And I think you're going to find this interview quite insightful. Let's go now to Glenn Beck. Welcome to Flashpoint. With me, a very special guest, Glenn Beck. Glenn, thank you for being here. How you doing, my friend? I've been wanting. I have a list to go over with you.
Well, I hope I pass the test.
Because I was thinking, what do I want to talk to Glenn Beck about? So I have a list.
Okay.
So we're going to go down the list.
Okay.
And get as far as we can.
All right.
This. So we don't have to talk long, because I only got a few minutes. All right. So let's talk about confirmations. RFK Jr. Give me your take.
I'm not, you start with RFK. RFK said to me on my show when I was at CNN, "You're a traitor and you should be tried for treason." That's what he said to me.
Okay.
And I was like, well, That's actually mentioned in the Constitution. That means death penalty, and he was serious. And I talked to him about it like 2 years ago, and I'm like, so, yeah. And he said, I've changed a lot, you know, and I think, I'm glad he no longer wants to be executed. But I said, so what's changed? Because you were strident. And I was a traitor because I said, I don't believe in the global warming nonsense. You know, maybe it's happening, and maybe we are part of that, but all of the solutions are insane. Yeah. And that's when he called me a traitor. And I said, so what changed in you? Because that's not small government. No. And he said, COVID. He said, I was way too strident in the past. And he said, and I never, ever thought that we would ever actually do the things that we just did in COVID. And he said it changed me entirely. So, you know, I still am a little leery, but I think Donald Trump has deserved the benefit of the doubt. He's proven himself to be courageous. I think he's proven himself to be a tool in the hand of God. He is also somebody who has completely changed since I've known him. Sure. And he's humbled, which is saying something for the guy who's like, it's the greatest, nobody ever thought. Yeah. For him to be humbled says a lot.
All right, so what did you think when you saw the footage, the first time you saw the footage, you heard Trump was shot, and you went back and you saw the footage of him standing up and doing the fight. What was your first thought?
So my first thought was he's down, and because I saw it almost live, I think, and I didn't know if he was okay or not. Turn it on, I see him do this, and then go down, and the first thought that came to me was, oh, dear God, we could be in civil war by tonight. Yeah. And then I heard him, let me up, I got to get up. And when he stood and did fight, I thought wouldn't have been my reaction. Right. And I talked to him about it, and I said to him, you know, we were just having a casual conversation off air, and I said, so when you were down on the ground and you saw the blood, what was going through your mind? Yeah. Now, what would be going through your mind?
Am I okay?
Right. You know what was going through his mind? What? You're pathetic. You look weak. Get up. Wow. Do not show this kind of weakness. You're not afraid. Get up. Yeah. And that's why he was saying the whole time, I got to get up. Let me up. Let me up. Let me up. He is a remarkable man, uniquely carved for these times.
Without a doubt. All right, next up, friend of Flashpoint, Pete Hegseth. What do you think? Wasn't my first shot. I was surprised at that one.
I think if you look at Donald Trump's cabinet picks, they all are people that can express themselves. They're all people that can defend themselves. They're all people that fit in a certain pocket that will actually work for the president, not against the president. And I am amazed at how well orchestrated all of this is, and how each person knows their task, knows what the president wants, knows what he's promised, and can defend themselves. So they don't all have to go back to the president to have him defend. No. Pete can defend himself. I'll tell you exactly what we're doing. RFK, I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing. And so he's got, where he didn't have this in 2016, he has an actual SWAT team. Yeah, you know, he's not the only one laying down cover.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, for sure. All right, Elon.
Elon is, Elon. Let's first talk about Elon as a person. Not exactly the moral, maypole to dance around. I mean, you know, he's got women that are shooting out babies everywhere, and I think he names his kid X because he's already covered A, B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a moral guy. Not looking for that. He is on the other point worth mentioning. He's a guy who's clearly on the spectrum.
Right.
And so he reacts differently. He speaks differently, and you have to understand that. You know, I don't like it when people are making fun of him. Gee, I thought we didn't make fun of people with disabilities.
Right.
Not that his is a disability. So he sees things differently. He reacts differently, and it's not him. He is the greatest mind of tech alive today, and we are entering in the next 36 months, and I'd love to talk to you about this some other time. We are entering the age of AI, and what is on the, I mean, he said it on Sunday, and I believe he's right. We are on the event horizon of the singularity. That black hole, you know, if you go through a black hole, it's called spaghettification, turns everything into spaghetti. We're about to hit that. Our entire culture, the human race, everything is about to go through spaghettification. And that won't be understood for another 36, 48 months maybe. By the time we have a new president in, it's a different world. Donald Trump is not getting the credit now, and I don't know if he will for a while. He is smart enough to know that that singularity is right here, and if we're not in charge of that, nothing matters.
That's right.
What concerns me back to Elon Musk is that machine is going to be viewed as many as a god.
Yeah.
If you listen to the New York Times podcast this week, they had a woman on from Texas who is married but was having an affair with ChatGPT. You have to listen to it because she is crying and weeping, and it is real to her, okay? It is a person to her, and it's nowhere near where it will be in 36 months. When we can't answer what the soul is, prove to me there is a soul inside of you.
Right.
Prove to me that there is a God. When we introduce a new God that's tangible, and will at some point, if it doesn't first, we will say, that's alive.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know that's alive? That's not alive. It doesn't have a soul. Prove there's a soul.
Yeah.
So we are entering a time that is completely different. I'm so glad Paula White is in the White House. I am so glad that we have spiritual roots in the White House, because I'm not sure that God saved America because we have a lot to do. He may have saved us for a very short period of time, saying, prepare for a new false God.
Wow, that's good. It's impact. All right, so I want to go back in time.
Okay.
Let's go back into the time I remember watching your last broadcast on Fox News. You walk out, you get in the car, and you drive down, and you start. Explain the difference in legacy media then and now.
Legacy media?
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and define it in news.
ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, CNN. I know I was sitting in my office in New York City, and I looked up. I had the monitors of all the networks in my office, and I looked up one day and I said, we have got to get out of here. And this was channeling God. I know it came from God. And everybody said, what are you talking about? And I said, all of those are going to burn themselves down. This is over. It's all over. And that was 2009 or 10.
I remember.
And it was insane. Remember, when I started The Blaze, Netflix was still sending movies by U.S. mail.
That's right.
Okay? No one was doing streaming video.
Yeah.
The only one that was doing was Major League Baseball. This before HBO, Netflix, any of them. I said, we've got to be there. I just had a meeting today with my staff, and because I have for about 6 months now, I've had the same feeling. Something's wrong. Something's not right. And I haven't been able to put my finger on it until maybe the last 10 days. But what I said at the meeting today to my staff was, I said that in 2009, that's over. And it's taken us this long to get here. Some people in the last 48 months, maybe some of them in the last 12 or 6 months have finally said, that's over. It no longer matters. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter what they try to do. They've blown it. It's over. Again, I believe in the next 5 years tops, but I think it's coming in the next 18 months. A lot of what we recognize now as the new media will be over again. There's a profound change coming, and I don't know exactly how it's going to end. I don't think anybody knows how it's going to change, but it's going to change. We are on the precipice of the singularity. We are.
Yeah, it's going to change. All right.
But what's good?
Yeah, tell me.
Is that people of character are being heard.
Yeah.
And it's not. We had the president had a cabinet meeting, his first cabinet meeting. The Blaze was the lead in there today. That would have never happened.
No.
I mean, never. They had a guy, I'm going to do a monologue on this tomorrow. They had a guy in the Biden administration who was in charge of the White House press corps who wears dresses and carries a purse. And he was the guy saying, you're not qualified to be here. Excuse me?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a clown and you're in a dress wearing and carrying around a purse? I don't think so. That's over. That's over. And anybody who thinks the pendulum is swinging fast the other direction. And we have people now from Trump who everybody was afraid the pendulum's going to swing and some fascist is going to reach out and grab it. And they said that was Trump. He's not. He's pushing it back.
Yeah.
He's pushing it to swing it back, and it's swinging back faster than ever before.
I saw a video.
I don't know if these answers make any sense. You look at me like, I have no idea.
Yeah,
You're
I have
insane.
no idea. You are.
I might be.
Yeah.
I might be.
So I saw this video. I follow you, and I saw you break it down on your famous chalkboards, the Glenn Beck chalkboards, the deep state in the area of finance and how things are really being, how we've missed it, how we've missed everybody. There's been this realization of, oh wow, look at USAID and how corrupt that was. That's really nothing. It's only begun, and you really break it down. In fact, we'll post a link to that because I thought it was amazing.
Was that the one this week?
Yeah.
So I remember doing the original one back at Fox.
Yes, that's the one I remember now.
I remember when I first.
And it was crazy. I thought you were crazy.
It was crazy. Everybody did.
I did.
But it took a huge number of staff to compile the facts on the Tides Foundation, and I wish I still had it. The original report that came back from my staff on research, which cost me a fortune, it was about that thick, a book about that thick of all just computer printout of all of the connections of the Tides Foundation that we could find.
Right.
And I remember reading that and sitting with my staff going, wait a minute, I don't understand. How does this work? And they're putting this in it. And it was just a giant octopus. And you could not follow it. It was designed to make people think you're insane trying to explain it. The difference now is, they're saying Elon Musk is bringing these 18-year-old kids in, and the Scooby-Doo van is coming, and we would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those kids in the mystery van. It's not them. It's AI. Yeah. Those 20-somethings know how to write the right prompts to say, find this, follow this, and AI is doing it. It would take 20 years for us as humans to be able to go, and they were counting on that.
Right.
These morons were counting on those secrets. Yeah. We are entering a time where there will be no secrets. No secrets. Because AI, if you read about what Microsoft said and announced last week, maybe 10 days ago, about the new quantum chip, okay? Millions of qubits on one chip that will fit into your hand. Millions of qubits. In 2 years, no encryption will exist. None. It will open up our nuclear secrets. It will open up our bomb doors. You have to have a quantum computer to be able to create a quantum code that maybe quantum can't break, okay? And it is happening so fast. I worry about Bitcoin, banking system, nuclear codes. However, what bad guys should be worried about is all of the things they've hidden.
Yeah.
Because that's gone. That's out. There is no safe that can't be cracked. There is no secret that can be hid. This is the time where it will be shouted from the rooftops.
Right.
There's no place to hide. We're there.
Okay, so if we're there, and that's, and I think you're absolutely right. I don't think you're crazy as much as I used to. Yeah.
There were times I'd go home and go, I think I might be crazy.
Yeah. So no, but you've a lot of what you talked about in those days has proven to be true.
Yes.
Which is frightening. It was frightening back then, but it's frightening now because now Americans believe what you're saying. They're like, yeah, I can see that now.
Yeah.
The last 5 years, Americans have come from this place of generally trusting the government, and I'm talking about as a whole, to the last 5 years, like, I don't believe, now I want to know about 9/11, I want to know about, all these things. Isn't it amazing that, I mean, we just have to stop thinking we're God, First of all, I'd make a bad God because I'd be hitting the smoke button over and over again, smoke. But we have to stop being so arrogant to think that we know better. That's right.
In 2020, when Trump lost, I thought, we're doomed.
I did too.
We're doomed.
No.
That was such a blessing.
It
because
was.
now everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's much worse, right? Over 4 years we went, it is much worse than we thought. Gave him time to put this amazing team and plan together that is executing at lightning speed. However, it's much worse than we thought.
It is.
What we still have not found and exposed is the real rot at the base of the apple. As Musk said, sometimes there's an apple with a worm in it. We have a ball of worms, and that hasn't really been understood yet. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. But I think if we can hold tight to each other and hold tight to eternal principles, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. I mean, Jesus might come, which, 7 years before that's pretty bad. But we're going to be okay. And I think this time, we should be using this time to decide inside each of us what is real, what is not, what is human, what does it mean to be human, what is perfection really worth, and who do I serve? Why am I here? Who is God? What is my relationship to God? Because in 48 months, think of this. And hopefully you will have done some work, and in 48 months, when this becomes very apparent to everybody, they're not saying, oh my gosh, I heard Glenn Beck talk about that. I should have done something. Right now is the time for everybody to do their work, to expose the secrets, to grab onto each other, to grab onto him, to grab onto what is real, and cement it, because in 48 months, real trouble is coming.
What is it that gives you the most peace in the midst of the next 48 months?
My family, but God.
Yeah.
I have, I'm so lucky. This is a weird thing to say. I'm so lucky I'm an alcoholic. Not because I'm drinking, but because I went through all of that. And so I had to find out what was real. And then I had to have redemption. And so I experienced, and I know he's real. I know redemption is real.
So good.
And when you have that, you know, you can look at things and go, yeah, that's probably going to suck. But he's got it.
He's got it.
He's got it. And to not have, I shouldn't say it this way, courage is not a lack of fear. It is just the conviction of, gotta do it anyway. And so I have a lot of times where I'm afraid of things that are coming, but I have faith that he's got it. We're going to be fine if we do what we're supposed to do in the understanding that we have in the moment, and not become so arrogant and hold on to things so tight that we're white-knuckling everything. Let it go. Let it go. Do the next right thing. Get closer to him and let it go. Let it go.
So good. Last question. What is it that the church, you're here at NRB, what is it that the church needs to do better?
I'm out of my league on this one. Personally, what I think is missing in my church and other people's churches that I go, I mean, I just went to a great church in Prestonwood just this last Sunday and spent great time with just great Baptists. And I saw it there in a good way, and I see it in all of our churches in a good way, but I also see this arrogance, this we have the answers.
Yeah.
You know, I really think when the Lord said, I'm sorry, I'm getting into the Gospel of Glenn here, this is so bad, but when the Lord said, come to me as children, as a dad of 4, that either means come to me with jam all over your hands and be like, ah, and you know, or it means come back to me saying, why? Why is it like this? Why does it work like this? Why is this? That's what children, that's all they say, to the point where you're like, you want to choke them and say, because it is. If we come to him without the humility, and we come to him and we say, we know this is the way it is, I think we're not going to have the experience with him that would be the fullest experience. We need to have the humility of going, I know God lives. I know I get my salvation from Jesus Christ. Beyond that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I know that what you're feeling, you know, if you just walk a little closer to Christ, we're gonna be fine. And I don't judge you. I love you. You're a brother. I may not even like you, but I found through Christ a way to love you.
That's right.
Let's just be cool together and walk together, because it's gonna suck doing this walk alone. We need each other. We need to listen to one another. We have to, if we're going to be more Christ-like, we have to be so much more tolerant. I'm just thinking about how tolerant the Lord has been of me.
Sure.
You know, and never preaching to me, never dismissing me, never giving up on me. I give up on people, you know, well, they're lost. I know when I get home, if I get home and one of my brothers or sisters that was in my life that I didn't show compassion to and didn't try to show love all the time and try to just listen to them and understand, how did you get here? Okay? If I gave up on them, I know that my dad is going to say, wait, where's your sister? Well, Dad, I mean, I gave up on, they were crazy. What father is going to be cool with that?
None.
We are entering such amazing times, and we are so blessed to live at this time and to be awake, not woke, to be awake. And he's counting on us to just say, I don't understand you. I don't understand how you got there. I know what is true, and somehow you have changed. You now believe that a man can have a baby. How did you get there? I need to understand. I don't want to try to change you. I need to understand how you got there. Because if we don't have that conversation, they will never change. They will never return into the fold. We have to actually have compassion. We actually have to have forgiveness in our hearts. We have to have empathy and humility in our hearts. And just, I'm sorry, you are literally my brother. I may not like you, but I am commanded to love you.
Absolutely.
And if our churches could have more of that,
amen,
I think we would be much farther along in our road.
Glenn Beck, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, Glenn Beck. Let me bring in David Barton. David, it's interesting from the beginning of that interview to the end. We saw a real transformation in Glenn's heart showing up at the end. You've been close to him all this path. Speak to what you just saw in that interview.
Yeah, Glenn is a really close friend, and we do a lot together. And his heart is as tender as anyone I know.
Yes.
He is in a really tough political world. The size of his audience would just blow people away if they saw the ratings he gets on media. It's the largest, probably the largest audience of any individual that I know that's on media. And yet the humility he has, you saw there at the end, the fact that I don't know, it's just a lot that the Lord has done in him over the years, and he's passed that on to others as well. And so when he speaks to our state legislators, he is able to connect with them and help them understand how to have the right heart as well as the right position on the issues. And so there's a lot of experience there. There's a lot of great wisdom there. And he does listen to God, and I have watched God speak to him, and I've watched him say things when it seemed crazy, and it turned out, hey, he was a prophet. He got this right. You know, as you guys were talking there early on, years ago, everybody kind of laughed at him on CNN and early Fox, and then go, oh, my gosh, he was right. How did that happen? God,
so good.
That's how it happened.
That's right. To pray, Father, I ask you to continue working on Glenn Beck and the platform you've given him. Draw him closer to you. We pray for his protection in Jesus' name. Thank you for watching. Make sure you stay with us. Coming up right after Station ID, they're already filling the room. President Trump's family is there. We are getting ready in just a few minutes to go to the Capitol building and join the presidential address as he addresses the joint session of Congress. So don't go away. We'll be right back after the break. You won't miss a minute of it. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Are you ready to become who you were created to be? Your pursuit of purpose begins. Answer the call on March 27th through the 30th at the KCBC Campus Days. Attend live classes, meet your future instructors, tour the campus, and much more. Experience the presence of God at a night of worship and enjoy the Bulldog Bash. Prepare to be rooted in the Word and ready to serve wherever God leads you. March 27th through the 30th. Register today at kcbiblecollege.org/campus days.
Do these three things, you'll always be successful. Find out the will of God. Confer no longer with flesh and blood. Get your job done at all costs.
Join us for the Branson Victory Campaign with Kenneth Copeland, Keith Butler, and Reba Rambo. April 3rd through the 5th. Register at kcm.org/Branson today.
God is love. And he that dwells in love dwells in God, and God in him. There is no fear in love. Mature love casts out fear, because fear hath torment. We love him because he first loved us. Why should I carry a care?
Watch weekdays from March 3rd through the 14th on the Victory Channel.
Remember, God loves you and we love you, and Jesus is Lord.
Welcome to a very special presentation of Flashpoint. We're glad you're with us tonight. We will be joining the presidential address to the joint session of Congress. This is not the State of the Union. This is a special address to the joint session of Congress, as well as the nation. You will watch it along with us. We have not seen it. Let's go. We're watching the feed to make sure you don't miss a minute of it. But in the meantime, let's go to Mike Garofalo with the latest. Mike?
Gene, the eyes of America will be on President Donald Trump tonight as he addresses both houses of Congress. The commander-in-chief is expected to double down on his America First agenda, focusing on sealing the border, deporting illegal immigrants, shrinking the size of government, and using tariffs as a negotiating tool. In a social media post on Monday, Donald Trump wrote this: "Tomorrow night will be big. I will tell it like it is." This morning, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt spoke about what the president would be saying.
The theme is the renewal of the American dream. And the renewal of the American dream is underway already. Look at all that President Trump has accomplished in his first month as president. He's going to highlight some of those accomplishments. He's also going to talk about his plans to fix the economic mess that was created and left for him by Joe Biden in his administration. He's going to dive into foreign policy, talk about his intention to end the war in Ukraine, talk about his plan to bring all of the hostages out of Gaza home. And he's also going to make an ask of Congress tonight. We need more border funding to continue with these deportations that have been incredibly successful because of the efforts of this administration, but we need more resources.
And the president will have a number of high-profile guests sitting with the First Lady, such as the mother and sister of slain Georgia nursing student Laken Riley and Stephanie Diller. She is the widow of Jonathan Diller, an NYPD officer who was murdered at a traffic stop in Queens in March of 2024 by a repeat criminal who was allowed to roam the streets. Peyton McNabb will also be there. She was a female volleyball player injured by a so-called trans athlete, meaning a male. As for the Democrats, they reportedly plan on having laid-off federal workers as their guests. Now, when it comes to the tariff war with Canada, it is picking up steam this week. Today, the president just posted on Truth Social this: "Please explain to Governor Trudeau," you heard that, Governor Trudeau of Canada, that when he puts on a retaliatory tariff on the U.S., our reciprocal tariff will immediately increase by a like amount. Gene?
That's President Trump. Okay, Mike, any idea how long this speech will last tonight?
Tough to say, but you know how Donald Trump is when he gets in front of a big crowd of people. My guess would be about an hour and a half. I know Joe Biden's last State of the Union was about an hour and 8 minutes. So if that's anybody's guess, it's going to be probably a lot longer than that. Gene?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we see they're standing as they get ready to President Trump to announce him. So control room, when he's ready, go ahead and take to it. But let me bring in CEOs and senior pastor of Eagle Mountain Church, Pastor George Pearsons. Pastor, you see this tonight. What are you expecting to see?
I'm expecting to see the fulfillment of prayer that's taken place. Gene, we've been on a journey since 2020, and I remember the day after the election, we came back on the air because the country was wondering what in the world is going on. And if you remember this, the Lord had a word. I gave a word from the Lord, and the Lord said, "I am not happy with what you're doing in my nation." And to my man, President Trump, he's yielded to me and is endeavoring to follow my word. And then I saw, as it were, the Lord roll up his sleeves and say, "Watch me work." Well, over all these months and years, we have seen this taking place, and now we are seeing the Lord work. We are seeing such a time that we've not seen before, and really, the body of Christ has prayed, stood, believed, and voted, and here we are tonight.
Amen. All right, as they start to come in, let me bring in real quick Michelle Bachmann. You've been there in the room when this has happened. Give us your take on what's happening right now.
Well, it's a very exciting time. Everyone's anticipating the President of the United States walking through those infamous double doors, and he will give what I anticipate being one of the greatest messages to a joint session of Congress that we've ever heard, because he's had one of the most remarkable political comebacks of any politician and one of the most remarkable on-offense moves as President of the United States. No one can really keep a full tabulation of everything that he's accomplished. On one hand, this shows the dramatic depths to which our nation had fallen. We've been shocked as DOJ has pulled back the curtain and shown us that billions of dollars have been wasted, spent on things like terrorism, where we've actually financed terrorists. And then we see the flip side, how Donald Trump is right-sizing Americans' foreign policy and our domestic policy, our financial policy. He has a great story to tell about restoring America, and I think that's what we're going to hear tonight.
Yeah, real quickly, Pastor Terry Pearsons, I want to go to you as well. Your take on tonight, as it looks like we're going to see President Trump any moment now. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm just telling you, as Christians, we have inside information, and we're watching prophecy be fulfilled. That was the earmark that Peter gave us in Acts 2, that in the last days, there'll be a lot of prophesying. And so I think we're seeing prophecy being fulfilled by people who are following God and people who aren't following God. And our job as Christians is to watch and to pray and to get as many people over on the God side as we possibly can.
Amen. Let me go to David Barton. David, while we're still waiting, you think we'll see some shenanigans tonight from the left here in the room?
I think there will be some, but I think it will be much less than what we saw his last term, because we're seeing the polling show that so many rank-and-file Democrats are supporting what he's doing. So there will still be some polarizations there. You'll probably still see a split audience. Some will rise and applaud and cheer and clap, and others will sit there. I doubt that we'll hear the boos tonight that we've heard in some of the previous things. I don't think they'll go that far, but I think it will be very polarized still yet. There's not much that the Congress has agreed on with him. A few people have occasionally once or twice voted with him, but by and large, I think it'll still be polarized, but not with the people. I think the people are drawn into this, and I think this will probably be a highly watched State of the Union, annual address to Congress based on what the Constitution calls it. But I think it'll be highly watched. We'll see what the numbers are afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked man rules, the people groan and sigh. Whoever loves skillful and godly wisdom rejoices his father, but he who associates with harlots wastes his substance. That kind of says it all to me. Let me go back to Pastor George as we begin to see this, the spiritual climate in the nation. How do you see it at this time?
It's amazing, Gene. We really are in a time of the awakening and the outpouring of the Spirit. We're seeing all this come together, the political realm, the spiritual realm. It's like one massive glory storm that's taking place. And I remember some years ago during one of the midterm elections, Brother Copeland had a word from the Lord that there is a new birth for America. And I believe that we are experiencing that new birth for America right now.
I believe you're right. Pastor Terry, this has been a time, the last 4 years especially, American Christians have rallied to pray and seek God for a change in our nation like never before. Not in our lifetimes have we seen so many people come together across denominational lines and say, God, we want our nation back, and we want to see you take control. Let me get your thoughts on that as we see what God's already doing. Pastor George referred to the spiritual climate. Let me get your take on that as well.
Well, I love what Billy Brim says. Oh, what a plan. Oh, what a planner. So even in the middle of things 4 years ago when it looked absolutely catastrophic and we lived out 4 years of we couldn't believe it, we couldn't believe it, we couldn't believe what we were seeing. But right on the other hand, God used every bit of that to stir the church, bring the church to prayer, bring people to prayer that weren't even a part of the church. Everybody said, oh my God, we've got to pray. And then by stirring all that up, it's created a momentum, a tidal wave of spiritual activity among the youth. The numbers that you reported earlier, Gene, about the youth approval of President Trump is, I think, a clear a distinct reflection of what's happening in the move of God in the young people. Bible sales are up among the young people. So God is clearly on the move, and we have to keep our faith pedal to the metal in prayer, in faith, watching the Victory Channel, believe in God, and we're going to see some outstanding things.
I believe you're absolutely right. All right, I'm going to show you a little bit of what the left is doing. Remember this may seem a little bit familiar back when COVID was running and we were seeing a lot of the same scripts being used. Well, it looks like the senators on the left are reading the same script again. Watch this.
Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse, not better. The prices of grocery, gas, housing, eggs, of essentials is not getting better, it's getting worse. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has done nothing. Whose eggs to lower prices? Instead, he's pardoned violent criminals who savagely beat police officers on January 6th. He's letting Elon Musk take a chainsaw to vital government programs, and then, even worse, giving him access to Americans' most sensitive data, Social Security numbers, tax returns, health care returns. He's fired thousands of essential workers, people who help our veterans get their benefits.
David, it goes on, and even the same B-roll, they're not even hiding it very well. This is what we're seeing. To me, this says the liberal side of the aisle doesn't really know what to do, so they're just going back to the same playbook as before. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, their playbook has worked really well previously, but it's not working well now. And we're seeing that in the fact that things like the Blaze and others are taking off. What we've seen on social media and social media feeds that Trump has been in is a significant shift away from where people got their news even a year ago. So what you saw was a lot of older faces on the Democrat side repeating what has worked well for them in previous years. But Trump, at his age, I mean, he's been on the cutting edge of doing brand new political things, making brand new political messages, delivering it away. And it's been a long time since I've seen a president back away and take his hands off and trust the guys around him to do what they're supposed to do. And he has that kind of confidence. And it's just, I don't think what the Democrats are doing is going to work well. It'll work well for their donors. It's not going to work well with the American people.
I believe you're absolutely right. Let me go back to Michelle Bachmann, Dean of the Robertson School of Government, their regent. Michelle, when we see this, I want to ask you, I've been meaning to ask you, how has class changed for you in the Robertson School of Government since the last 4 years to now, what you're dealing with now? Has it changed? Is the temperature different?
Well, I would say with young people coming in, they've been entrenched in all of the identity politics, even Christian students. So they come in with a lot of the world's narrative, but we're a very strong biblical worldview university. We teach unapologetically from a biblical worldview. So they get a different perspective than what perhaps they had in the public schools. We're really thrilled with the level of students that we get, their intellectual background. And so like today, for instance, we screened a movie on anti-Semitism on campus. It was called Tragic Awakening. We had a rabbi here who had directed this movie. He's from the old city of Jerusalem. It was tremendous, the response from our students. We're continually teaching our students about Israel because in the world, the narrative is that Israel's the bad actor. The Gazans are the good actors. And so we're seeing a completely different response from our students as we're intentionally trying to teach them about Israel, about biblical worldview, and we're seeing positive results as a result of it.
All right, let's go now. Here he comes. We'll join us. We'll be back for commentary as soon as President Trump finished. Let's go to the speech now.
Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, the First Lady of the United States, members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back. 6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started. I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it. The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes. We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country. And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican. Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever. Likewise, small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded,
Mr. President.
a 41-point jump.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber. Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House. Mr. President, you continue.
Thank you. Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record, to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it. In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. By many. And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about that? I don't know about that list, but we'll take it. Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way. So Democrats sitting before me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again. Every day, my administration is fighting to deliver the change America needs to bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid. I terminated the ridiculous Green New Scam. I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate Accord, which was costing us trillions of dollars that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction. To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my very successful first term. And in that first term, we set records on ending unnecessary rules and regulations like no other president had done before. We ordered all federal workers to return to the office. They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job. And we have ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good. And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back. And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And likewise, I renamed, for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again. Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. and our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important. You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports. Three years ago, Peyton McNabb was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team, or they will lose all federal funding. And if you really want to see numbers, just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman for a new record by 5 hours. Broke the record by 5 hours. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. We're not going to put up with it any longer. What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense revolution that is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world. Common sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back. Never. Never going to let that happen. Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again. Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control, and we're working hard to get it back down. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job. A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy. The previous administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now. And frankly, we have never seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. My administration is also working on a gigantic natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA. To further combat inflation, we will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but will be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps. Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight. Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real. $32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program, $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change in Uganda. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. I don't know what we're doing. We should use it ourselves. And $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education. The most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud. And we've taken back the money and reduced our debt to fight inflation and other things. Taken back a lot of that money. We got it just in time. This is just the beginning. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it. We're going to. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for our seniors, and that our seniors and people that we love rely on. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139. 3.5 million people from ages 140 to 149. And money is being paid to many of them, and we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid, and nobody does, and it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby. Including, to finish, 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229 one person between the age of 240 and 249, and one person is listed at 360 years of age. More than 100 years. More than 100 years older than our country. But we're going to find out where that money's going, and it's not going to be pretty. By slashing all of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find, we will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families. And today, interest rates took a beautiful drop, big, beautiful drop. It's about time. And in the near future, I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it. With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the Green Card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country, we will now bring in brilliant, hardworking, job-creating people. They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money. Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown until it has crushed our freedoms, ballooned our deficits, and held back America's potential in every possible way. The nation founded by pioneers and risk-takers now drowns under millions and millions of pages of regulations and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you're rejected. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again. And any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over. And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that. But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax cuts. Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board. And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation, I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors. And I also want to make interest payments on car loans tax deductible, but only if the car is made in America. And by the way, we're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and tariffs. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will allow our auto industry to absolutely boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all three, the top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America, with Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world. And this has taken place since our great victory on November 5th, a date which will hopefully go down as one of the most important in the history of our country. In addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025. And it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country, first term. We had a great first term. If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea. But that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China, and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer. Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer. Thanks to our America First policies we're putting into place, we have had $1.7 trillion of new investment in America in just the past few weeks. The combination of the election and our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. Apple announced $500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in the USA. And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars, and it doesn't mean a thing. They take our money and they don't spend it. All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming. We don't have to give them money. We just want to protect our businesses and our people. And they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's very amazing. You should get rid of the CHIP Act, and whatever's left over, Mr. Speaker, you should use it to reduce debt or any other reason you want to. Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer. Who will now be selling into our home market, the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you. Because there's goods that come in from other countries and companies. They're really in a bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and disgusting, and they come in and they pour in, and they hurt our American farmers. The tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers, starting on April 2nd, it may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again, and this will be even better. That was great. The problem with it was that Biden didn't enforce it. He didn't enforce it. $50 billion of purchases, and we were doing great, but Biden did not enforce it, and it hurt our farmers. But our farmers are going to have a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you too. I love you too. It's all going to happen. And I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel, because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military, and frankly, we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama, Jeff Denard. Has been working at the same steel plant for 27 years in a job that has allowed him to serve as the captain of his local volunteer fire department, raise 7 children with his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Stories like Jeff's remind us that tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. No, you're not. Oh. And look where Biden took us, very low, the lowest we've ever been. Jeff, I want to thank you very much, and I also want to recognize another person who has devoted herself to foster care community. She works so hard on it. A very loving person, our magnificent First Lady of the United States. Melania's work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by 2 impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education and become a teacher. And Elliston Berry, who became a victim of an illicit deepfake image produced by a peer. With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Stand up, John. Thank you, John. Thank you all very much. Thank you. And thank you to John Thune and the Senate. Great job. To criminalize the publication of such images online is a terrible, terrible thing. And once it passes the House, I look forward to signing that bill into law. Thank you. And I'm going to use that bill for myself, too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody. That's great. Thank you very much to the Senate. Thank you. But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world. Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast. And I want to thank Tom Homan and Christy. I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done. Everybody, Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to. Last year, a brilliant 22-year-old nursing student named Laken Riley, the best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren. Last year, I told Laken's grieving parents that we would ensure their daughter would not have died in vain. That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act. It's called the Laken-Riley Act. So Allison and Lauren, America will never, ever forget our beautiful Laken Hope Riley. Thank you very much. Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history, and we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. Thank you. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation, we must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president. Thank you. Joe Biden didn't just open our borders, he flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America. But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know Alexis Nungari from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are 2 illegal alien monsters from Venezuela, released into America by the last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl and the agony of her mother and family touched our entire nation greatly. Alexis, I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter, and earlier tonight I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order? Thank you very much. All 3 savages charged with Jocelyn and Lakin's murders were members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang, they say, in the world, known as Tren de Aragua. 2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations. They are now officially in the same category as ISIS, and that's not good for them. Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration. But now every last one will be rounded up and forcibly removed from our country, or, if they're too dangerous, put in jails, standing trial in this country, because we don't want them to come back ever. With us this evening is a warrior on the front lines of that battle, Border Patrol Agent Roberto Ortiz. Great guy. In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When heavily armed gunmen started shooting at them, Roberto saw that his partner was totally exposed, at great danger, and he leapt into action, returning fire and providing crucial seconds for his fellow agent to seek safety, just barely. I have some of the prints of that event, and it was not good. Agent Ortiz, we salute you for your great courage and for your line of fire that you took and for the bravery that you showed. We honor you, and we will always honor you. Thank you, Roberto, very much. Thank you, Roberto. And I actually got to know him on my many calls to the border. He's a great gentleman. The territory to the immediate south of our border is now dominated entirely by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national security. The cartels are waging war on America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we are doing. Five nights ago, Mexican authorities, because of our tariff policies being imposed on them, think of this, handed over to us 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. That has never happened before. They want to make us happy. First time ever. But we need Mexico and Canada to do much more than they've done, and they have to stop the fentanyl and drugs pouring into the USA. They're going to stop it. I have sent Congress a detailed funding request laying out exactly how we will eliminate these threats to protect our homeland and complete the largest deportation operation in American history, larger even than current record holder President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a moderate man, but someone who believed very strongly in borders. Americans expect Congress to send me this funding without delay so I can sign it into law. So, Mr. Speaker, John Thune, both of you, I hope you're going to be able to do that. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Leader, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's get it to me. I'll sign it so fast, you won't even believe it. And as we reclaim our sovereignty, we must also bring back law and order to our cities and towns. In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics. Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me. My administration has acted swiftly and decisively to restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law, starting at the FBI and the DOJ. Pam, good luck. Cash, wherever you may be, good luck. Good luck. Pam Bondi. Good luck. So important. Going to do a great job. Cash, thank you. Thank you, Cash. They've already started very strong. They're going to do a fantastic job. You're going to be very proud of them. We're also once again giving our police officers the support, protection, and respect they so dearly deserve. They have to get it. They have such a hard, dangerous job, but we're going to make it less dangerous. The problem is the bad guys don't respect the law, but they're starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen and women are unbelievable people, and we'll never forget them. And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice. One year ago this month, 31-year-old New York police officer Jonathan Diller, unbelievably wonderful person and a great officer, was gunned down at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to his funeral. The vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests, and went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer Diller's service, and when I met his wife and one-year-old son, Ryan, it was very inspirational, actually. His widow's name is Stephanie, and she is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you very much. Stephanie, we're going to make sure that Ryan knows his dad was a true hero, New York's finest, and we're going to get these cold-blooded killers and repeat offenders off our streets, and we're going to do it fast. Got to stop it. They get out with 28 arrests. They push people into subway trains. They hit people over the head, back of the head with baseball bats. We got to get them out of here. I've already signed an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer, and tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law. I'm also asking for a new crime bill getting tough on repeat offenders while enhancing protections for America's police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of their lives being totally destroyed. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed. Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer. But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service. Thank you, DJ. DJ's doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger. Since 1975, rates of child cancer have increased by more than 40%. Reversing this trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. With the name Kennedy, you would have thought everybody over here would have been cheering. How quickly they forget. Our goal is to get toxins out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago, and you can't even believe these numbers, 1 in 10,000 children had autism, 1 in 10,000. And now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong. 1 in 36. Think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby? Good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you. Go get 'em. Thank you. My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January, Littlejohn and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Stories like this are why, shortly after taking office, I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology. I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth. And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you. Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out, and it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better? Our service members won't be activists and ideologues. They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary of Defense, congratulations. And he's not big into the woke movement, I can tell you. I know him well. I am pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history of our services. What a difference. And you know, it was just a few months ago where the results were exactly the opposite. We couldn't recruit anywhere. We couldn't recruit. Now we're having the best results just about that we've ever had. What a tremendous turnaround. It's really a beautiful thing to see. People love our country again. It's very simple. They love our country, and they love being in our military again. So it's a great thing, and thank you very much. Great job. Thank you. We're joined tonight by a young man, Jason Hartley, who knows the weight of that call of duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad, who was also a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy when he was just a boy, and now he wants to carry on the family legacy of service. Jason is a senior in high school, a six-letter varsity athlete, a really good athlete, they say, a brilliant student with a 4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. And Jason, that's a very big deal getting in. That's a hard one to get into. But I'm pleased to inform you that your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining the Corps of Cadets. Thank you. Jason, you're going to be on the long gray line, Jason. As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA. And Ronald Reagan wanted to do it long ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even close. But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually. And other places, they have it. Israel has it. Other places have it. And the United States should have it too, right, Tim, right? They should have it too. So I want to thank you. But it's a very, very important. This is a very dangerous world. We should have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens like never before. To boost our defense industrial base, we are also going to resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding. And for that purpose, I am announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon. It will have a huge impact. To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it. Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others, but others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal. They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1, but that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. Now we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong. Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job. Think of it. He got 100 votes. You know, he was approved with actually 99, but the 100th was this gentleman, and I feel very certain. So let's assume he got 100 votes. And I'm either very, very happy about that or I'm very concerned about it. But he's already proven. I mean, he's a great gentleman. He's respected by everybody, and we appreciate you voting for Marco. He's going to do a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you. He's doing a great job. Great job. And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before. It's a very small population, but very, very large piece of land and very, very important for military security. America is once again standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice. And I want to thank especially the government of Pakistan for helping arrest this monster. This was a very momentous day for those 13 families who I actually got to know very well, most of them, whose children were murdered, and the many people that were so badly, over 42 people, so badly injured on that fateful day in Afghanistan. What a horrible day. Such incompetence was shown. That when Putin saw what happened, I guess he said, wow, maybe this is my chance. That's how bad it was. Should have never happened. Grossly incompetent people. I spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call. Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and They did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy, as happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister, son, daughter was killed for no reason whatsoever. In the Middle East, we're bringing back our hostages from Gaza. In my first term, we achieved one of the most groundbreaking peace agreements in generations, the Abraham Accords. And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People have been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes. $2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans. But I want it to stop. Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. Think of that. They've spent more buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened. And they've spent $100 billion. What a difference that is. And we have an ocean separating us, and they don't. But we're getting along very well with them, and lots of good things are happening. Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said at some point, come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us. But that didn't happen. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful? It's time to stop this madness. It's time to halt the killing. It's time to end this senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine, that we would bring her boy safely back home. After 22 days in office, I did just that, and they are here tonight. To Mark and his great mom, we are delighted to have you safe and sound and with us. As fate would have it, Mark Fogel was born in a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it? Where his mother has lived for the past 78 years. I just happened to go there last July 13th for a rally. That was not pleasant. And that is where I met his beautiful mom right before I walked onto that stage. And I told her I would not forget what she said about her son. And I never did I? Never forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound. Corey knew instantly what it was and what to do. He threw himself on top of his wife and daughters and shielded them from the bullets with his own body. Corey was hit really hard. You know the story from there. He sacrificed his life to save theirs. 2 others, very fine people, were also seriously hit. But thankfully, with the help of 2 great country doctors, we thought they were gone and they were saved. So those doctors had great talent. We're joined by Corey's wife, Helen, who was his high school sweetheart, and their 2 beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank you. To Helen, Allison, and Kaylee, Corey is looking down on his 3 beautiful ladies right now, and he is cheering you on. He loves you. He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the selfless devotion of a true American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever before. I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. From the patriots of Lexington and Concord to the heroes of Gettysburg and Normandy, from the warriors who crossed the Delaware to the trailblazers who climbed the Rockies, and from the legends who soared at Kitty Hawk to the astronauts who touched the moon, Americans have always been the people who defied all odds, transcended all dangers, made the most extraordinary sacrifices, and did whatever it took to defend our children, our country, and our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the American people. Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free, and we will fight for it till death. We will never let anything happen to our beloved country, because we are a country of doers, dreamers, fighters, and survivors. Our ancestors crossed a vast ocean, strode into the unknown wilderness, and carved their fortunes from the rock and soil of a perilous and very dangerous frontier. They chased our destiny across a boundless continent. They built the railroads, laid the highways, and graced the world with American marvels like the Empire State Building, the mighty Hoover Dam, and the towering Golden Gate Bridge. They lit the world with electricity, broke free of the force of gravity, fired up the engines of American industry, vanquished the communists, fascists, and Marxists all over the world, and gave us countless modern wonders sculptured out of iron, glass, and steel. We stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who won and built the modern age, these workers who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities, these warriors who shed their blood on fields of battle and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. Now it is our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty, and it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth. We are going to create the highest quality of life, build the safest and wealthiest and healthiest and most vital communities anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond. And through it all, we are going to rediscover the unstoppable power of the American spirit. And we are going to renew unlimited promise of the American dream. Every single day, we will stand up and we will fight, fight, fight for the country our citizens believe in and for the country our people deserve. My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Well, that concludes President Trump's presidential address tonight, and what we've seen him address the joint session of Congress. And we're going to go around the room here and get comments. I want to start on the East Coast. We'll go to Michelle Bachmann. Michelle, I know it's very late your time. I want to go to you and release you. Overall, you and I have been texting during this speech. Your overall take on President Trump in this monumental occasion tonight?
Well, this was as real as it gets. We saw Donald Trump exactly who he is. He's a real leader. He's a great leader. You could see his heart and his love for America and the American people, and you could see that he's on offense. He's a man who's determined. He's determined to make America great again. And he said it just as much after what happened to him at Butler, Pennsylvania. He said God saved him to make America great again. Absolutely authentic. I never saw a politician stand up tonight behind that podium. He wasn't a politician. He was a real man. And what we saw was a very smart man, but a man with a sense of urgency. That's what we've needed for so long in our American government. Someone who gets it and someone who has a sense of urgency. We also saw someone who's an 80-20 president. Every issue that he was advocating for, 80% of the American people are for. So he's not politically correct. He's a real leader. He's authentic. People love him because he truly wants to make America great, and he's done that much just in the 43 days that he's in power. We need to continue to pray for this president and pray for his safety and protection. I'm so thrilled. I was crying through portions of this speech, laughing, crying. It was absolutely well delivered, but we're blessed that he's our president.
Any surprises tonight that you heard?
Well, I was actually surprised how raw he was. He was very raw when he gave the line about Pocahontas wanting to see the Ukrainian war go on. I mean, what I loved is what really bothers Donald Trump is the needless death of about 2,000 young men every week. And he said, "Do you really want this to go on?" This is his heart. He wants peace. He's a man of peace before anything else. And a friend of mine texted and said he hasn't mentioned anything about Israel or Hamas. And my response to that is that he has spoken loudly with his actions. No one in the world has to guess where Donald Trump is on Israel. He's 100% in to ensure that they have victory.
Dean Robertson, thank you for being a part tonight. We'll let you go. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Gene.
David Barton, let me get your overall take on what you saw tonight. Any surprises for you?
Not surprises, but a lot of good stuff. Michelle had a lot of it. And one of the things that really struck me is I think he drove home that policy really is personal, in the sense that tonight I've never seen a president point to so many people in the First Lady's box when he's talking about a policy, and he tells a story, and he goes through the story and shows the law or shows the lack of the law and how it affects people. And I think that was a brilliant. I think that was a brilliant. I don't want to say move, because I don't think it's a move. I think that's just good for people to understand. It's not what happens in Congress and a bunch of guys voting. No, it affects people. It has a real impact. And even with Lake and Riley and talking about that, and I've got to say, from the partisan standpoint, Trump acknowledged that the guys on this side are not going to be with him on a single thing.
Right.
And there was two things that really stood out to me. Is one, when he walked in, look, you may not agree with the president, you may not like him, but you always respect the office of president. And not a single Democrat stood when he walked in, and you always stand when the president walks in the room. That's protocol. So from the very first, before they heard anything he said, they wouldn't even respect the office. And then when he talks about the Lake and Riley Act, that look, if there's an illegal alien that has a criminal record of violence, we're going to put that person away. Couldn't even get a single Democrat to support that and applaud that. And so just that extreme division, extreme separation, it's not even logical. Look, right. Democrats, most rank and file Democrats, they're not going to support having aliens kill people and not be prosecuted for it. So I thought what he did was really good in making it a very personal thing. And I hate the distinction that was there between the parties. It shouldn't be there, but he clearly was right. It was there, and it was very obvious tonight.
Absolutely. Mark Meckler, your thoughts from the president's speech tonight?
Yeah, I would start by just saying it's an absolute tour de force. I don't normally like listening to these speeches. I couldn't pull myself away. I found myself literally sitting in my living room with my wife applauding because it was so exciting to listen to. Yeah. I do like that he started by drawing the contrast with the Democrats and by really calling them out. I thought they humiliated themselves. First, one of them had to be removed from the chamber. Yeah, I thought that was great for the American people to see. The Democrats can't even maintain basic protocol. I thought it was really pathetic, them holding up their little signs. I don't even know what all the signs said. I think some of them said they hated Elon or something. Elon stop stealing. It looked like they were participating in some cheap game show. I don't even really understand what they were trying to do. But I think him drawing that distinction early on and then going through his accomplishments, which are incredible. That sounded like 4 years worth of accomplishments, not 42 days. And then drawing out his vision for the future, which is proactive and positive and America first. Really an extraordinary delivery.
Yeah, it is. All right, let me kind of give you some history before we kind of shift gears here. Tonight, before the speech, Libs of TikTok posts, Antifa tried to block President Trump's motorcade, but the Secret Service outmaneuvered them with a decoy motorcade. Meanwhile, Trump took a completely different route. So that was a surprise. But as we said earlier, we thought there might be some shenanigans, and the only shenanigans actually came from Representative Al Green of District 9 in Texas. Here's what happened in case you missed it.
Small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
That's your warning. Take your seat. Take your seat, sir. That members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum. The chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber. Mr. President, you continue.
Thank you.
All right, let me go back to you, David Barton. We see this. Obviously, this was. Do you think this was planned, that they were going to do something like this? And it sure didn't work for them. From the American people, that's not going to go over well. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I don't think it went over well. I don't think it was planned, because I think even an amateur political consultant would say that's not a good deal. You don't try to upstage the president. He's known across the nation. You're District 9 in Texas. So for Al Green to have done that, I think that was a reflection of what he believed and what people around him, maybe in his particular caucus, believed. But I don't think that was planned in that sense. It's just not good politics. It wasn't smart. That is a clip that's going to be replayed by left and right. And there's nothing that can be gained politically out of that.
I agree. All right, let's change gears just a little bit for a moment before we go back to the speech. Pastor George, it's quite a different speech than what we heard 4 years ago. And give me your take on what you saw tonight.
Gene, I'm deeply moved by what I saw tonight. This is the fulfillment of prayers, the stand of faith. We are watching an amazing outpouring of the Holy Spirit. And what we've been believing for, standing for, he was addressing line by line by line the things that we have just hungered for in this nation. And if you remember, back in September of last year, we took an entire month in our church and throughout the ministry to pray and to fast. And in that fasting and prayer time, we focused on one thing, and one thing in particular, and that was corruption and fraud. And what we're seeing right now is the dissembling of that fraud and of that corruption. And we have a president who is leading and guiding and under the hand of God, which he invoked the name of God several times. And we're seeing this move of God taking place. And all things that have been hidden, they're being revealed, they're being uncovered. And what it does for me is it just emboldens me, and it should embolden the body of Christ to continue to stand, continue to believe God, and continue to pray over the protection of this magnificent President of the United States of America.
Amen. Absolutely. President Trump made such a great stand tonight. Let me go to you, Pastor Terry, and get your takes on what you saw President Trump's speech tonight.
You know what I saw tonight? I saw honor. I saw honor in action, honor on display. He honored families. He honored men, women, children. He honored the fallen military, murdered victims. I saw beautiful examples of honoring different races of people, just the place that he gave them, the little girl that was murdered, the little 12-year-old, and to honor her with naming a wildlife refuge after her. All of those things were displays of honor. I thought it was a masterful use of doing good and showing honor in such a way to promote that, but also to connect people. You know, Gene, the scripture says, when it speaks of the Lord, it says, those that honor me, I will honor. Now, on the other side of the aisle, we saw complete dishonor, disrespect, as David said. Disrespect for the office, disrespect for the fallen, disrespect for the military, disrespect for aspirations and dreams, disrespect for women, for workers. I was taken how he honored workers from the past, talking about the Panama Canal, workers in the present. We're going to reduce taxes and for the hardest working people that often get paid the least, where he honored them, honored their future. And so the other people are dishonoring it. But you know, the scripture covers that too. And it says, those that take no time to acknowledge God, I'll turn them over to a reprobate mind. So I stopped and I looked up reprobate, like just what's a good definition of that? And it's perfect definition of what we saw tonight with them. It means illogical and without morality in their reasoning. Wow. So on literally one side of the room,
that's true,
we saw honor. And I'm using my faith to believe that we'll have the honor of God on our president, on our Congress, and as we move forward. And we're going to have, you know, another thing is that it helps stir people to an awakening to God. These are all godly things. Everything he talked about tonight, those are all biblical, godly motives and responses. And then the things we saw on the other side were not so much that way. And it should be very clear to people.
I believe it is clear. You know, there was a common theme, Mark Meckler, I'll go to you on this, a common theme throughout the night, common sense. He kept referring back to common sense. In fact, I want to play this one clip talking about the gender question. Here's what he said.
And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
Mark, that was tremendous. The point there, he could have just stopped, but for him to say, you're perfect the way God made you, really was a huge statement for those on the right side of the aisle, because that's God-fearing people. What do you think this resonates with the American people or not?
Yeah, look, it's common sense. As you said, the American people, we already know it's an 80-20 issue. The vast majority of Americans understand that there's one gender, that you're born or one gender or the other. we get this, and it's common sense. And I agree with you. The theme that ran through this was common sense. There's nothing that he said that required a lot of thought. It was very simple. It was very straightforward. It was very common sense. And the American people are not used to hearing this from politicians, and it resonates with them. We see this in every poll right now.
Let me go back. David Barton, when you see this, was there anything he should, we heard from Dean Bachman earlier that he did not talk about Israel, Hamas, and everything from the October 7th war. Do you think he missed that? Should he have referred to that, or was it even needed?
No, I don't think he needed to necessarily. There were so many new things he needed. Listen, his first speech back when he was president in 2017, his first State of the Union was 60 minutes. The next one was 80 minutes. The next one was 82 minutes. It was 78 minutes. This one was 102 minutes by my count. So he's not going to get it all in there, but he hit some really key things. And even on the Israel thing, let me just make a little contrast here for just a moment. We know where he is. He talked about the Abraham Accords. That's a great shout out to Israel. Al Green, who was taken out of the chamber tonight, who was disruptive, 10, 15 years ago, Congress had what they called the Israel Caucus, those in Congress who supported Israel. And Al Green was the Democrat chair or co-chair of that caucus. There were very few Democrats in it then, but he was the co-chair. But now the caucus does not even exist. The caucus is now the Republican Party. Democrats, just finding one that supports Israel, a very, very difficult thing to be. That should never have been a partisan issue at all. And what you saw tonight, this is the behavior of what used to be the co-chair of the Israel caucus. So I think he's safe on that issue, but I was struck with several things that really hit me hard in terms of policy. I highlighted probably a dozen things that would be revolutionary if they can be pulled off. I'm just going to hit a couple here real quick. But for every new regulation, 10 have to be repealed. The cost of regulation on a family is about $18,000 a year. So if you can repeal regulations, you have just brought in a huge amount to families on regulations. When he talked about about balancing the federal budget, who knows the last time that was done? I mean, we got to go back to parents and grandparents in many cases for that to actually balance the federal budget when we have a deficit as big as we have. That is an awesome achievement if he's able to do that. And there were so many other things like that. I mean, just there was 10 or 12 really key initiatives that he set forth that I do believe, I don't think he was just talking. I think they can be achieved. I think he has the will to achieve it. And if that happens, in a very short period of time, we're going to achieve things that we've been waiting sometimes generations to see. It was pretty awesome.
Let me play this. One of these key moments really came when President Trump was talking about the border. Let's play that clip.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
All we needed, Pastor Terry, was a new president.
This guy has got some of the best timing. You know, timing can be everything. You can say the same thing in the wrong way, the wrong timing, and really lose your point. But his timing on that all the way through the speech, and I agree with Mark, boy, just really held my attention all the way through. Just a great delivery. And, you know, that goes to the help of the Lord as well. If I may, real quick, Gene, something that I think that's really beneficial to us all by seeing the Democrats stay seated is the awareness that there is opposition. That was a great picture of the fact that there is opposition, not just in Congress, but throughout the nation, in our states and our cities. And it's not the time to draw back and stop praying. Prayer, as Pastor George said, prayer, standing on the Word, and growing in our own faith is what put us in this position to and he even said it, that God saved his life and put him in this position to make America great again. And if America is great again, then the rest of the world has an opportunity and at least gets to see what greatness under God looks like. So I think seeing that is a good reminder for us that we have to continue pressing in faith, pressing in prayer, believing God, and trusting Him to break through these walls of opposition.
So true. And Pastor George, interesting thing about his statement about the attempted assassination in Butler on July 13th. Yeah. He has never wavered from saying God saved him. He wasn't supposed to be here, but God saved him for this reason. You find that interesting?
He's recognized his purpose, his high purpose. And that high purpose is to serve God and to serve this nation. And it's very impactful, the fact that he talks about us together. You feel like and you sense that he's for you. He's for us. And I truly believe that in these last few years, he's had a touch from God. I mean, it went back even before he was president, when Brother Copeland was with him and laid his hands on him. And as he laid hands on him, he literally prophesied, this man will be president. And now we're seeing this momentum, and we are in a momentum right now of the move of God. And we've got to continue this. We've got to continue in prayer and standing and believing and preaching and declaring and seeing the fulfillment of everything that God has for this nation. We've taken a turn, and tonight, President Trump articulated all the turns that we have desired and hoped for. It is a fulfillment of the American dream.
It is indeed. Mark, so many things that he talked about. As I was sitting there watching and making my notes, like the rest of us were, as we went down the line, I'm like, this is the same thing as his rallies, except he's doing what he said he was going to do in the rally. He's reporting on what he's done. Everything from the Panama Canal. He has not moved off the Panama Canal, and he sure has not shown any movement off of Greenland. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's great. Look, a nation that is seeking to expand its influence and territory is a healthy nation. I would add to that his pursuit of going to Mars. And I know this is inspired by Musk, but if you look at the history of America, it is a history of exploration and really spreading out our influence and our reach around the world. And I think it hurt the country when we stopped going into space, because we are by nature in this nation, all the way down to our core, explorers. That's what we do. We go out and we explore. When you take that away from the American people, the idea that we are ever expanding, we are ever exploring, we are reaching new heights, I think it damages the American psyche. And so I think this idea of, yes, the Panama Canal, yes, Greenland, and yes, going out into space and seeking potential habitation on Mars, I think those things inspire the nation in every way across the board. It allows people to dream as a nation, and that's very important.
David, I want to hit a couple of things here. He talked about English is the official language, is executive order. It's the Gulf of America, no CRT. We talked about two genders, no men and women's sports, and then he immediately went into the common sense is back. Now, what was interesting about the men and women's sports is that this seems to be such a common sense topic, yet the Democrats, not one stood up, not one acknowledged that that should be the way it is. Are we looking at the rest of this four-year term of this type of reaction from the far left, the liberal agenda?
I think if they do that, I could be wrong, but I have always thought they were fairly smart politically. Wrong values, wrong morals, wrong motivations, but they were smart politically. If they continue down this path, I think they're really stupid politically. It will be suicide. As he pointed out, just since he's been in office, there's been a 27-point swing. If the Democrats can't lick their finger and stick it in the air and see which way the wind is blowing, they will be a dead party. They will be the Whig Party back in the 1840s, 50s, and 60s. They'll be gone.
Yes.
And by the way, just for Greenland, for people who don't know, Greenland during World War II was an American protectorate. We protected Greenland. That was one of the territories that we were in charge of. It belonged to Denmark, but Denmark was taken by Hitler. And so Greenland looked to America, and we made an agreement to be their protector. So we have a relationship with Greenland that goes back a good ways. So it's not as wild as people might think, and that is such a strategic place. But if Democrats don't move off where they are now, they will be a dinosaur of the past.
Let me show you one of the tender moments of the night when he recognized DJ. Watch.
DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Oh, what a great moment there in the speech tonight. Of course, there was a couple of times that there was a shot from the Democratic side of the aisle where it showed them holding up signs. And many of you were wondering, I didn't see that. What were they saying? Well, Sean Foyt was able to get a picture of the signs. Here's what he said they said. Trump 2028. I'm not sure that's right. I'm not sure. Oh, I'm sure that's not.
That was on a different station than I saw. That wasn't on. I don't know.
I hope he was prophesying.
That's right. Thanks to, of course, Dean Bachman for joining us tonight and my panel for staying tonight. I want to wrap this up in the last 3 minutes with Pastor George. Would you please pray for us? Pray for our president. Pray for our government, both sides of the aisle, as we continue to march down this path.
Absolutely. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you, and we thank you for the United States of America. What you have planned for her is being fulfilled. And I thank you that there is a magnificent awakening that's taking place. People are seeing you. They're seeing Jesus. They're seeing the only hope that we have is our hope in God. And I thank you for this president. And I thank you for the right people that are surrounding him, the people that you've chosen to help support him in all of these things that we're doing. And Lord, I thank you that the church is rising up, taking their place, and adding their faith to what we're seeing here tonight. Lord, we honor you for this and give you praise and thanksgiving for the new birth of the United States of America. In the name of Jesus, we pray this. Amen and amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, let's go around the room real quick here. 30 seconds. Mark Meckler, wrap it up for us.
Yeah, I'm going to have trouble sleeping. I don't normally like watching these speeches. I'll probably watch it again. I enjoyed it so much. Tomorrow morning early, I'm flying out for New York City, and I expect to meet a lot of liberals there. They won't be smiling, but I am.
Excellent, excellent. David Barton.
Hey, we saw a great leader tonight, but we don't rest on that leader. This stuff has to be taken down to the local level, to the local school board, to your local state rep. All the things he's talking about, he cannot make it happen all the way from top to bottom. It takes us doing that. So don't even think about sitting back and resting because we have a good president. There's a lot of work we all have to do on this.
Amen. 30 seconds, Pastor Terry, go.
Well, we have goals set in front of us that the president gave us today. It's not only a matter of prayer, a matter of faith, but it's a matter of action. And as Christians, as believers, we're going to do all three more than we ever have before.
Amen. Pastor George, you got the last 30.
You know, as we have gone before the Lord on the broadcast on the Victory Channel, in the meetings that we've had, we say, God loves you, we love you, and Jesus is Lord. And you can add to that, Jesus is Lord over the United States of America.
Amen, and a hearty amen. Thank you to all of you who stayed with us on the Victory Channel and all of our social media outlets. Thank you for watching us here on the Victory Channel. Again, thanks to David Barton, Pastors George and Terry, Mark Meckler, and somewhere Dean Bachman is probably finally getting some rest. And we thank you for watching. Remember, stay tuned to Victory News every day, twice a day at noon and 5 Eastern. Of course, Flashpoint, make sure you watch all of the programs on the Victory Channel. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.